Hi everyone. Knowing your passion, what matters to you, is really critical. Being in the Asian culture, we have been branded as the cheapest guys in the business. Therefore, we end up working our butts off to build a house and buy a car in our whole lifetime. Having worked with many hundreds and thousands of academics and professionals, I know that branding or marketing doesn't seem to be our strength. The question is that the way forward? I don't think so. Let's break the ceiling. Let's present ourselves as the subject matter expertise and the authority in our own field. No more cheap labor. That's it. It's not the easiest job to build a credible brand and become an authority in a given domain. More importantly, finding your niche is challenging. So, in today's discussion, what I want to discuss with you is this: how to brand yourself, how to find your passion, how to find your niche. Because finding your niche is essentially contributing towards building your brand. So, in today's discussion, I have invited an expensive brand to share his wisdom with us. He's none other than Charith Weerasooriya. So I'm gonna bring Charith on screen. Hi Charith.
Hello.
Thanks for joining Charith. Thanks a lot for accepting my invite. It's my pleasure to host you. Pick your brain, basically.
Thank you very much for inviting me this as well.
Yeah, so I think we are gonna unfold a lot of critical knowledge
Yeah.
that that will definitely add some value to the people around us, particularly our own people in our community. Plus, it's not just limited to us. It's for anyone who wants to build up the personal branding. Ensure that you have defined your brand the way you want it to be, and you
Yeah.
earn what you deserve for what your value is. So
Yeah.
to start the discussion, Charit, I would like to hear from you. Just tell the people who are watching and listening to us who
Hmm.
Charith Weerasooriya is.
Yeah. In simple terms, I'm a designer. I want like I love designs because I believe design has the power to shape meaningful human experiences. So I am primarily a designer. Besides that, I have a mission to help people to get their value and be valuable to others. So mainly that's what I'm after apart from my design career. So I mainly branding and digital designer in the sense I'm specialized in branding and UI UX design. So I've been working in the industry for about like 12 years. So I would like to
Nice.
share my knowledge and experience with all the people about the branding and how important it is to brand yourself to get your value in these competitive markets.
Excellent. Thanks a lot for a very concise profile update. I love what you have been saying, right? So as we started the discussion, Charit, our total intention here is to share what we have gone through
Yeah,
with our colleagues around us.
yeah,
It's no bragging, it's no advising, it's just that sharing our experience, and that we believe will add some value to the people who are listening to us.
yeah.
So to begin the discussion, before beginning the discussion, let me welcome everyone who has joined us. Thanks a lot for joining us. So this particular live cast will be going on LinkedIn Live as well as YouTube Live. If you are joining from one of these platforms, do comment. Those comments will appear in the stream studio, where we are able to see your comments, irrespective of whether you are commenting from LinkedIn or from YouTube. I have also myself, Charith, have shared this on Facebook, sharing the YouTube link. So if you are joining to YouTube, just comment saying I'm from YouTube, I'm so and so, I'm from this country, so that we get to know each other, and I'm sure it will help you to build up your network through the audience itself, right? So with that, let's start the discussion. Charith,
Yeah,
where I want to start the discussion is
yeah,
talking about one area that is hugely overlooked. I think if you go and ask anyone, hey, do you want to be great? They will say yes. Why not? But if you ask what exactly you want to be in 10 years' time, if you ask 100 people, I'm sure, right, 90% of people will fail to give a reasonable answer, saying this is exactly what I want to be in 10 years, 20 years, 25 years' time. Now, my
yeah.
question to you is, should we start figuring out our personal vision? As an individual, should we think of a vision?
Yeah, it's a very difficult questions to answer, but I think picking up the passion is one important thing going forward your career. Some people find their passion in early ages like 14, 15, but some people find it at age of 65 at some cases. So if you have a vision and mission, a clear vision and mission, it will be very easy for you to move forward with you, whatever you do. So that's the important thing to remember. But having said that, depending on the situations happening around us, things can change suddenly. So we have to be prepared for that as well. So whenever we are picking up a mission, what the most important thing is to be true to yourself. You know, by doing this, what are the gains that I'm gonna get? You know, because you don't want to be engaged with something that you don't like for the rest of your life, because it's gonna be a sort of a it's going to be a sort of a work for you. You know, it's not going to give you anything but some result that you're expecting, like money or the other thing. So because you are not enjoying what you're doing, so the result of what you do can be, you know, can be something you're not enjoying. So that's the hardest part about that. So I think before you do anything, you have to ask yourself that, is this something that you like to do for your rest of your life? What is the mission and what is the vision and what is the value that you're trying to create with what you believe? So that's the important starting point for everybody, apart from looking at the monetary value, because that's what's happening in most cases with the young people who enter to the working environment. So this is what they are mainly focusing on. So I think it's a very important topic to figure out what exactly you want to do with your life, especially like as a designer for myself. So I always curious about the things around me. You know, how this made, why this and why that. I always question everything around me. So that's what makes me a designer, to solve these problems and help businesses, help people to get the clarity that they need. So that's the mission I was after. So I think having that broad vision and mission is important to start your career, in my opinion. Yeah,
Excellent. Thank you, Charit. Thanks for the great answer. Yes, I definitely agree with what you said. Uh, thinking of thinking of a bigger picture is important, right? I can remember one quote said by, it's a coin, yeah. Yes, so let's try. Charit, when I speak, if you can go on mute. Also, would you like trying out your headphone
yeah.
if it's not a problem? Yeah. Thank you.
I think
So,
muting will be help because I think the echo is coming from my display.
correct, correct. Let's try that. Yeah. So, just complementing what you said, finding the vision is simply finding a bigger goal to chase. My strong stance is that I think being in Asian culture, we chase very narrow dreams, right? It's either to be a doctor, engineer, or a lawyer. Now, I went through that. You went through it. I think even today's kids go through the same hassle, right? There's no way every one of us can become those three professions, right? I mean, those are great jobs, but it's not for everyone. Definitely, I spent and wasted about good 18 years just wanting to be a doctor. And today I know that if I become a doctor, that's not the right job for me, right? It's not because the job is bad. It's just that that's not what matters to me. That's not my passion is. So this is one problem right now. This is where I'm actually coaching my own 11-year-old daughter to think bigger, right? And I definitely want her to succeed in her education, but at the same time I want her to figure out what really loves doing, right? It doesn't matter what it is, but I want her to figure that out. So as a parent, as a guardian, I have a responsibility, right? As individuals, we also have responsibilities to look around and help each other. If you see that someone is trying to be too smart and thinking millions of money that the person trying to earn, and I believe we have a personal responsibility to just stop the fellow and say, hey, what are you doing, right? I think that's missing in our society. We kind of go through the traditional thinking, believe that we have to go for those big professions to be successful and live our dream. Yeah. So with that, I want to get into the next important question that is very much connected to this. It's about the passion. Now, another buzzword is this. Everyone talks about being passionate, finding out their own passion, but no one seems to figure it out clearly. Now, my question to you is, how do you figure out your passion? How did you figure out your passion, Charith? If you think back, reflect back.
Yes, I think the biggest thing about this is that the people that we associate in the daily, so we have to, as a young people, what I'm always trying to tell them is that try to discover areas that other people don't discover. You might find yourself in there, because what happens is usually we listen to a lot of thoughts from our parents, from our friends, from our elder people, because we believe them so much. We have respect in our culture for the elders. So we tend to believe everything what they say. I'm not saying that they are lying to you, but they are talking according to the knowledge that they accumulated or the experience that they have. So they might can be wrong because they cannot really understand who you are. But what I'm always saying is that listen to your heart, listen to what your heart says. It's clearly there. Only the thing is that you're doubting yourself that okay, I might not get succeed in this, I might not get uh, I might not doing this. Having this bigger goal inside your head is very important thing to start. But what I'm saying is all the time try to find a big niche, not just the micro niche or macro niche for that matter. Always trying to find one segment that you are really excited, you feel more happy, you are more passionate about. We all have that thing. It can be travel, can be medical, it can be accounting, management, design for that matter. For me, I love art, I love design, I love everything to be nice and beautiful, different. So that's who I am. I knew this, but I didn't know that what should I do, because back in the days we didn't have this clarity or this information that we need to figure out what to do. But in today's generation, it is much easier for you to find out all this information. You are one search away, one click away. You can find certain different things that you can do with your life. So the important bit is you have to enter to the discoveries area. You need to discover yourself with different segment. You need to read about this, you need to read about that, you need to experience this, you need to go there and visit something, because this is the observation period that you gather as much as information about the things what's happening in the world. Don't look inside the window in Sri Lanka what you can do, or it's a government job, or it's not this company that I wanted to be joining, or no, I want to do this. Just don't look inside here. Just always think about the world level and think what's the missing thing that you are expected to complete. You have to think bigger. Always you need to think bigger, discover new different things, and find out what exactly make you excited. First of all, I'm excited to see nice beautiful things. I'm excited to see nice beautiful solutions for people's problems. This is how I was growing up, and I always wanted to do things differently, even though I get a lot of criticizes. So I always step back and thinking that I might be crazy, I might be wrong, but you're not crazy. You are. That's how all these new things that we are engaging, that's how all these new things are happening. For instance, if I ask somebody, let's start a taxi service, but we will not buy any car, everybody will say I'm a stupid person, right? Because it's not possible. But it has happened. That's what's called Uber. They don't own any taxi, but they have done that. So that's the sort of a mindset you need to enter into when you want to when you want to find what is your passion. So you need to think about a bigger problem, a burning problem that is important to solve in this world. So when you figure out that, you can work on towards that step by step, not overnight obviously, but you need to work step by step. That's where you can have a good passion. Like even the world's richest man, Elon Musk, even have a mission. He have a bigger problem to solve, like a huge problem to solve, right? He may expecting to have a a city in Mars, for instance. How crazy is that, right? You should also have not that of big of a dream, but a sort of a bigger dream. That's, I think, the very good starting point.
Excellent, Charith. I love it. Yeah. So just again complimenting, right? Because this is one area that I invested hugely since the last 4 years, and the growth is massive, right? So I managed to shift from just being a project manager to someone who is kind of strategizing and helping the big organizations, leadership teams to adopt the project management strategies. Now, if I reflect back and ask myself, hey, what was the difference between what I did and what other project managers should have done? The clear difference is starting with that bigger vision, bigger dream, right? Because I knew it's just not just managing a project. Doesn't matter how big the project is. It can be the biggest project in the world, but you are still a project manager, right? Now, when I wanted to become a agile strategist, I had to strategize myself a lot. It wasn't a tactical game at all. It was started with a strategy. How do I get into this particular niche? Was my question, right? My starting point was visionizing myself 5 years down the time. I mean, I'm still within the 4 years, right? I'm still in my fourth year, but I have been able to grow much better than what should have done and achieved being a project manager, right? It's not the job, but it's what really deserves as a person, right? What is your excitement? What is your the thing that you really want to be doing, right? So this is why I really encourage our younger generation to think bigger. Being in the universities, what I see is that they have a very narrow dream, right? I mean, they haven't thought anything beyond just starting a job. Whether it's a software engineer, database engineer, electrical engineer, I mean, most of us just stop there. My advice, as you suggested, think bigger, right? Think something bigger that you don't think you can achieve in your lifetime, and I'm sure you're going to achieve it, right? So just again, talking about the passion, Charit, I want to bring up something said by the motivator Jim Brown, very successful businessman and a strategist as well. Jim Brown said, if you ask yourself, hey, what's my passion? It's a kind of a strange question. Instead, ask, how do I be successful? It's a broader question, as you said, right? So your question has to be broad enough for you to get a broad answer. So if you ask yourself, hey, how do I be successful? Then it will tell you, I, in my definition, being successful is helping a lot of people, thousands of people globally. Being successful is earning millions of money. Might be one critical aspect, right? Just one thing. Being successful is having a balanced mindset, enjoying your life, relaxing. All that come into that question, right? Now that is where I think, a lot of people think, I don't enjoy my life, right? I do better than anyone else because I know what I really want to be, right? Starting with the spiritual practices, the economical, social practices, your profession, everything will have to come together for you to be a fulfilled person. So you got to figure out your niche. You got to figure out where you will be happy. I think that's crucial. Yeah. So with that, right? So I think any value addition that you want to do onto what we have been discussing so far, Charith?
Yeah, the thing is that you need to find this perfect balance, because sometimes when you find your passion, you need to listen to yourself and see, okay, how you have to set your measures, like how you want to be successful, right? So people might say, oh, I want to have this much money, end of the, but success doesn't necessarily can measure by the money, how much money you make, because you need to enjoy the process of doing it, because otherwise you will end up having a lot of money but you never enjoyed your life. That's why it matters to find your passion so you can enjoy while you are earning money. It's not that you earn money and then you're gonna have like a happy life. You can have this perfect balance if you start with the right mindset. Always thinking like, how can I help other people? That's the important bit in this generation, because earlier generation it wasn't like that. It was all about sales, it's always all about marketing, it always about advertising, trying to cheat people, trying to get their money. There wasn't a big mission, right? So that's why you need to start with the right mission and passion, or helping people, and just try to make sure whatever you do is valuable in their mind. They fall in love with you because what you believe in, what your passion is, what you're trying to accomplish with your life. That's what I think the most important factor to remember.
Excellent thought. So, Deepta Jayaratna has a great comment. So, I have brought that on screen. Identifying your passion, trusting your gut, looking at the bigger picture, thinking out of the box, entrepreneurial mindset are the key to success. Absolutely, Deepta. Thanks a lot for adding this comment. I'm sure this creates a lot of clarity what your direction should be. It's not just one single direction. It's looking towards your life, thinking about what you want to become 25 years, 30 years in your life journey, being happy, right? Most of us mess this out, right? I mean, the thing is this, right? You can work your butts off, but still be happy, right? The trick is finding your passion. If you are not on a thing that you are not passionate enough, you are gonna suffer, right? I mean,
Absolutely,
if
because I'm sorry to
yes,
interrupt, because it's very personal to me, because sometimes I have been working like 18 hours, 19 hours a day, because I love exactly what I'm doing. I love designing, I love solve problems. So I don't feel tired. I don't feel like I'm working. I feel like it's the most favorite thing about my life. So that's something that you need to pick it up and scale up. That's the important thing, because otherwise you will feel like you're working, you feel like you're tired, you feel like I want to stop, no, I cannot do this anymore. You will be out of your motivation, like, okay, no, I cannot do this anymore because I'm tired. So yeah, that's that's important. Yes.
excellent. So Great discussion. So if you have just joined the live feed on LinkedIn or YouTube, please do comment. If you have any clarifications, do ask. We will try our best to share our insights with you. I'm sure we have gone through a big enough journey ourselves. Myself, Charith, should be able to share whatever we have gone through. So we will just suggest what we think, so you can start thinking of them, right? So moving on to the next question. Let me bring that on screen. So it's a long statement. Let me run through it for you, Charith. The most of people are now aware of the value. So the result is either undervalue or overvalue themselves. How to find your current value proposition? So this is a question I had for a long time. The thing is this, right? When you have a comfortable life, you tend to believe that this is it. You have reached the pinnacle of success, that is it. But it's an illusion. It does not have a limit, right? The value you can create is absolutely limitless as long as you direct your mind correctly. Now this is where we see great humans like Buddha, right? If you talk about the spirituality, I mean, how come someone become a Buddha, fully enlightened? How come someone becomes someone like Elon Musk, right? How come someone becomes someone like Oprah Winfrey? How come someone becomes someone like Tony Robbins? It's all depends on their mindset, right? So my question to you is, in going in thinking big, wanting to become so successful, how do you measure your value proposition? How do you know what the value you can offer?
Yeah, it's a very important and very difficult questions to answer as well. If you ask, like, because finding your value is all depend on how you think about what you do. You know, how confident are you? How skillful are you on this thing? You know, what is your market situation? These are the tangible things that we can look into it. You know, these are the measurable things you can look at it. You know, by doing a research, whereas the demand for whatever you do, is it a big enough problem that you're trying to solve? All these things gonna depend on all these subjects are matters. You know, you need to consider all these subjects in order to define how valuable you are. But if you have enough confidence and passion and belief and right mindset, I think you can value as much as you can. Like, it's limitless, you know. But sometimes we often get into a certain situation, like we are overvaluing ourselves, you know, because in this market it's very competitive. Things are happening, like changing day by day, you know. So you need to have this self awareness about the current world, you know, not just the place that you live in, not with the clients that you are working, but you need to look into the global level, like what's happening in US markets, what's happening in Middle East, what's happening in other areas of the world. So you need to have this self evaluation about your skills and what area that you need to improve, you know, what skill set that you need to learn. You know, these things can really help you to find out your value. You know, how I express value is from my not from my technical knowledge. You know, as I'm a designer, I didn't show off my designs. I didn't show off my skill of how to do designs. You know, but versus I try to emphasize on my human qualities, the way I communicate with them, the care I have for them to solve their specific problems, and also, you know, how passionate I am. You know, because more I think about people, more I think about doing something, my value increases. That's the only thing that happened to me to get a more value than some of the designers in Sri Lanka, because I believe they have the talent. Talent alone doesn't give you any value, because it's almost become a mandatory thing. Like, if you want to become a designer, designing is something that like a basic entry level requirement. to do something better in design. That's the basic very like it's a primary requirement to be a designer. But now it's more than that. For defining your value, you need to have these soft skills. We call it creativity, we call it problem solving, we call it active listening, we call it many different things. Basically, the emotional intelligence, that what matters to increase your value. So that's how I increase my value, even though my skill set is average. I'm not going to deny that, because I'm humble enough, and I have self awareness about me, what I can do, what I can't do. But in this world, the skill set is not the only thing that you can score. Skill set is one thing that can give you an advantage, but in this complex world, when you're dealing with people, what matters the most is to have the good human skills, soft skills, the care, the passion you have. That's something different. But when you come to work, your creativity is important, whatever the segment you are in. So all these factors come into play when you're defining your value. So you need to ask yourself these questions, like how skillful I am, what are the human skills that I have, am I communicating enough my thought process, like how are you going to communicate what you think. It's important, because you might know a lot of things, you might have a lot of experience, but if you don't know how to communicate it to another person, try to empathize with them, it's going to be very challenging to, even though you are valuable, you cannot communicate it, you cannot market it, you cannot advertise it, you cannot wrap it in a nice brand and present to the people, try to generate more connections with them, because end of the day, people buy people. People don't buy the people with the most skillful person. They don't buy it. They buy the person that they feel in. Like when I talk into with the clients, when I trying to address their problems, they always connect with me because I do really care about them, rather than how much they're going to pay me. Of course, I'm going to get my value, but first you need to connect with them, understand their problems, and try to define whether if this is a bigger problem solved. So I think some clients I have, I'm saying always some clients that this is not the right connections to work with, because I feel my value is higher than what they're trying to pay me. So that's how you're going to define your value, by understanding about yourself a little bit more, as well as the market a little bit more. Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. Great insights, Charith. Glad that I asked that question from you. Now, I would like to add a few comments to what you have been talking about here. Now, one thing is, again, when I think of myself, my question started: what are my offerings as a professional, as a project management professional? What can I offer to the people around me? That includes the organizations. Now, when I asked that question myself, it wasn't easy to figure out. Then I had to spend some good time, energy on it, figuring out this is my value proposition, because that is what your game changer would be. Now, if you want to become someone special in your community, in your domain, you need to be unique up to a level, right? Example, if you think of project management as a profession, being just a project manager, you might be the one to earn the lowest money. And you would also will see project managers earning as double as what you earn. Now, my question was, what is the difference? Now, I invested a lot of time. It was a long journey where I had to do a lot of dedication, right? The moment I decided I'm gonna emphasize, I'm gonna create a stronger brand myself, I started doing a lot of work after office, right? Basically from 7 to 12:30 was a minimum space, because it's a lot of time, right? Now, if you believe that, hey, I'm a project manager earning good salary, you're not going to do that. So that is important. So figure out your unique offerings, right? Then invest more time and energy, figure out how do you get it up to a level where you can sell it. Example, speaking. Now, I have been in a big, very famous speaking club. I mean, there are much talented speakers than me, but none of them earn what I earn through speaking, right? It's simply because of positioning, strategizing. It's a strategy game. Remember that. So if you want to create a brand, identifying your offerings, emphasizing on those offerings, and ensuring that you develop them up to a level you can earn money is essential. And as you said, Charith, I let go a lot of training opportunities simply because they look for the cheapest price. I say no, I'm not going to compromise below this figure, because I have spent my 40 plus years of life developing those skills, and people want me to be cheap. I'm not going to do that, right? So this is a missing link, Charith, right? I know, I have been working with coaches at the same scale. Their offering is free. Sometimes, in one instance, actually, it's very, very sorry to talk about these things, right? There was one company looking for a speaker. One person reached out to me, asked me. I said, fine, I'm more than happy to speak up. Then the person asked, what's your rate? I said X amount, right? They never came back. Then later, 2 weeks later, I found that, right, a colleague of mine who is at the same level has offered that talk for a very cheaper price. Now, that is, I think, this is one of the challenges that I face personally, that most of us will face in this community, because there are enough people to sell your service, your competency is cheap. Don't do that. You got to value your service, your competency, so that, I mean, if someone is not ready to pay what you ask for, that tells that they don't understand your value. So no point talking to people like that, because they really don't judge your competency correctly, right? Because it's like, telling too many things to a kid who does not understand what exactly I'm talking about, right? So this is important, Charith, right? So I think, I just wanted to add some value addition to complement what you said. So with that, Charith, let me share you something from my book. I wrote a book on personal branding a few months ago during the COVID. This is actually co-authored with one of the influencers from Australia, who is my colleague, Dino Pashela. So let me bring one page from that, talking about this. How to find your value proposition is our question. So look at this. Now, if you look at this, you will see that your value proposition talks about three aspects. Number one is the basic needs. Example, Charith, if you are a designer, as a designer, there is a default job expected. You got to have that job in you. Otherwise, the competency is in you. If you are a software engineer, there is a basic need. There are a set of basic requirements. So you need to fulfill them. The second thing is pain points. Now, this is one thing that we don't pay enough attention on. So if you want to build up your brand around the great offerings, you need to start questioning, what are the pain points the community goes through? What are the pain points that the companies have? That is when you understand, okay, these are the things that I must address. These are the competencies that I have to pay more attention on. It's always better to solve a pain point than a basic need. But the thing is this, if you're not in a position to fulfill the basic needs, you can't think of pain points, right? If you are not good enough as a software engineer, as a designer, as a project manager, you can't think beyond. So you need to ensure that you get the capabilities required to do a good enough job. Second, start thinking, what are the pain points? Pain points are critical. These are the pains that the community goes through, the organizations go through. Third aspect is the gain creators. These are value additions. No one complains about them, but providing you are able to facilitate some of these gain creators, people will be appreciating your presence, right? You're going to make their life much better, advance their life, contributing on those three areas. So think of this as a canvas, a template for you to structure your value proposition. So think of what are the basic needs that I'm going to offer, what are the pain points that I'm going to talk about, what are the game creators that I have to offer. That will give you a greater opportunity to focus. So with that, let's get back. So I'm gonna just look at a few comments from Deepta. Deepta says, Charith, you nailed it. The true passion comes from compassion, trying to help someone. That is the essence of value that you bring out. Awesome job done there. Thank you. Thanks, Deepta, for the comments. Talking about this, I think we spoke enough about it. So would like to move on to the next segment. Now, in the next segment, what I'm going to talk about with Charith is about the niche marketing. Now, why I call it marketing is you got to market yourself, right? In a very, very human way. You're not gonna put out the figures first, right? But still you got to market. Otherwise, you end up in situations where people will offer the same set of features, services, competencies for a cheaper price. That does not work, right? So I have seen greater brands ourselves, Charith, right? So there are individuals who earn many thousands for one. Now, if you talk about one of my expert domains, speaking, that's a world champion in us, right? And if you look at their rates, it's absolutely proud to know that being a Sri Lankan, they are in such a higher authorized position. So it's not just 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. It goes up to $10,000 for a keynote, which is 1 hour long. Now that's the level you can go for, right? And if you look at Will Smith charges around 2 million, right? It's few millions for a 1 year presence on stage. Think of it, right? So there's no limit. The limit is up to you to decide. But you got to do your hard work. You got to figure out your value proposition. You got to strategize yourself. So now let's talk about the niche. So Charith, if someone wants to find out their niche, let's talk about a metaphor, right? As a designer, someone wants to find out his or her niche. How to go about it? How do you find my niche is the question.
Yeah, the thing is like we all the throughout this conversation, what we talk about is finding out your passion, right? It is important factor in order to finding your niche, right? For my advice is from my life experience, all the tough questions that I have to answer, or the difficult problems that I have faced. My suggestion is to find a bigger niche first in your early career. Study as much as possible in that. For instance, design is for me my niche, the bigger niche. Okay, so I was learning a lot about design, and I get into 3D designs, I get into architectural design, I get into a lot of different design segments just to experiment it, to see where I will find my success, where I will find my perfect balance between financial and between my happiness end of the day, because we want to be happy, we don't want to be sad by doing anything, right? So I enter to the niche called a bigger niche, I would call design. So what you all have to do is you will have to find this bigger niche, what exactly you're gonna discover more deep into it. In life is always about finding this big thing first, and then study enough about it, and then find what exactly the next one, let's call it a level 2 niche. For instance, for the designer, as a designer, what I enter towards end of the day, after discovering all these design segments, I wanted to be an advertising based, brand consulting and advertising based designer. So I found niche in niche, a bigger niche, and then I found a smaller niche, right? So then in that when you progressing towards discovering about advertising and brand consulting, then you can even niche down a little bit. So I think this is the process that you can do. You need to find a high level niche, and then you need to go about a little by little experimenting and thinking how the market is changing, how the people needs are changing. Because in this life we always says chase after people need. You don't want to be doing something that you like that nobody cares, because you need to define a marketplace for it, because otherwise you cannot monetize it, and you will soon be demotivated, and you will go out of passion, because your passion will go away, because you're not earning enough, you're not getting a good return. Yes, you're happy about it, but nobody pays for it. For the perfect scenario for me about finding your niche is the ikigai concept. That's the motivation that I had in my life, because when you figure out this ikigai concept, it's going to give you the clarity that you need. Because that's one exercise I have done, because my life been very complicated with a lot of problems that I faced, because I came from a very humble beginning, like very few thousands I earned when I started the career. I didn't have this clarity what I wanted to do with my life. Even though I had this passion, I didn't know how to execute my plans. I didn't know where to put my step into, because I had to spend like 5 6 years of my life just to figure out what to do with it, what I should do, what career I should go after. So when I found out this ikigai concept, it's helped me a lot, because it says what you love to do, what you can do, what the world needs, and what pays you well. These are the four important factors to match in order to find your niche. If you can find these four things perfectly, and that's the area that you need to work on, even though you like it or not like it, because that's where you can have a perfect balance in your life. With the money and the life, you can have a perfect balance. You can be happy, you can be earning a lot of money, and you will have a bigger mission and passion, so you can go more, the places that you never imagine yourself, because what you love is something that you already know. There's not gonna lie about, what you love, right? If somebody says, oh, okay, eating is my passion, I wanted to eat, it's fine. You can be a perfect food tester, you can be a cook, you can be, it doesn't really matter. You love food, you can find certain way of making money. All that what matters is your soft skills, your creativity, the way you approach to do what you love. It's not that you do something without creativity, without a new innovation, you cannot score, right? So the thing is that if you take designing for example, okay, there are designers who getting paid like 15,000 rupees in Sri Lanka, and there are designers who are getting 15 lakhs a month in design. So there's not a problem in the niche that you pick. It's always about how you approach to the niche. In any segment, it's the same thing. Like he was explaining, like Niroshan was explaining, that in coaching, there are people who do it for very cheaper money. And there are people who charge like billions, millions for one thing. All about your creativity, your soft skills, how you define yourself. So that's the important bit, to understand what you love, what you can do, because there are certain things we love to do, but we cannot do. I love singing, but I cannot sing, but it's fine. But that's something that is not something that I should follow, even though I love it, right? Because I cannot do it. Because how you come to that conclusion is by trying out. That's why I said, in your early career, try as much as things that you can do. Then you will get the self-awareness about it, that, oh, okay, I'm good at it. Oh, I think it's nice. Get some feedback from your loved ones and see how it goes. So that's how you find what you love and what you can do. But I will tell you one thing. If you love something, if you believe in it, if you do it consistently, you will get good at it. Because that's what we call law of practice, right? If you practice certain things for a long time, you will become good at it. Because I never born design. I never a born design. Yes, I might have some skills in artistics, and the way I was thinking is fine, but I was never born as a designer. But I kept practicing it for certain years, and then I become good at it. So that's what you love, what you can do. That's two things you're gonna figure out. So then you're going to see what the world needs. Is design something the world needs? Absolutely. Everywhere is design. Even the chair that we sit in, even the t-shirt that I'm wearing, even the branding, we call it UI UX designs, the engagement, the experience that we are experiencing with the softwares and the platforms, all are having a design aspect. They all solve problems. It's something that world needs. So I figure out, yes, design is something that world needs, and obviously there's a big market for it because people need it. So when you tally these four things, the way of living in Japanese is called ikigai, right? So when you find those four things, I think that's the great starting point for you to pursue, find a niche, so you know exactly what you need to be doing. So it's always matter of finding your soft skills, add into the mix and multiply it, and see what works best and multiply it, see what works best, multiply it. Always, never ever stick in one thing, even though you find the niche. Because for the design, I was always doing a lot of design because I was a design generalist. Because when you get into an agency, you got to do a lot of different things, from a business card to bigger hoarding to TV commercials to websites. So everything you have to do as a generalist designer. But when I scale towards my career, I learned to adapt to the market requirements. Because in some markets, for instance, the print designs now is not something that you should be following, because now the print designing is becoming a little bit saturated because the digital media is emerging, right? Same thing happened with the people, artists that who wrote letters on the walls and all that, right? The advertising was like that because there wasn't a printed medium, right? So if they didn't adapt to people who create fonts, or the people who do more typesetting and stuff like that, then what can happen is they're going to saturate, they're going to they won't be able to get the value. So it's important to find your niche and adapt and evolve according to the market situations, right? That's the only way that you can keep increasing your value. For instance, for me, I was always designing nice beautiful things, but now I'm more of a design thinker versus a no, more of a design creator, because the creating design is becoming a more easy things now. There are thousands of designers to get your things done, but the person to think about it, something that you need to work on. Even though the artificial intelligence or any other things in the future might can benefit from design thinking, because the AIs might not be able to think as a human. At the end of the day, we do all these things for the human, isn't it? So that's how you need to adapt, because I'm taking my examples to explain you better how to think differently, when you even though you are in the niche, because you don't want to label yourself for one thing, because that's the most bad thing we are doing. We call it, okay, I'm UX designer, okay, I'm not doing anything else. No, you always need to learn everything around your niche. You cannot forget your main niche, because if there's insaturation happen, like let's say tomorrow there is a tool to do UI designs. Once you do the all the wireframing and everything, your UI designs will be done according to your band colors and everything. So what's the use of you being a UI designer? Right? So that's why you need to be more creative, you need to be more proactive, and also you need to learn other aspect of the design. Even though you master one thing, that's what we call, because sometimes in the industry it says like, the jack of all trades, master of none, right? So that's why you need to learn everything. There's no barrier to it, but you need to master one thing, right? And you need to define that thing in the most creative and most effective way according to the market situation. Because end of the day, we also want to see a result in monetary values as well, because we need money end of the day, right? Because yes, we do what we love, fine. Yes, it makes me happy, but end of the day, you need to you need to earn money as well, right? Because otherwise it will be just a mission, it will be just a, you will get out of the motivation. Like when you have all the problems in your life, when you don't have money, when you don't have the value that you think you are valuable, you will get frustrated. That's happened to everybody. It's not for you, it's not for someone else, for everybody. So it's important to balance this thing. I think ikigai is one of the greatest tool that you can use to find your niche.
Love your insights, Charith. Yeah, I think you nailed it. You nailed it for everyone, one of us who is listening to us will be watching and listening to us as well, because this particular talk will be converted to a podcast and will be uploaded into all major podcasting platforms as well. So if you know someone who will benefit this, do share this with them, because I mean that's the least help that you can do to your colleagues. Like what we have tried sharing our insights with you, you could do the same thing, even though you are not the spokes people. So do share it with your friends and family, and I'm sure this will add some value to them. So we have some limited time, Charith. Can I check if we can go up to maybe 7:15? Is that okay with your schedule?
Yeah, absolutely. It's no problem.
Okay, because I have few questions that I really have to discuss. So
Yeah, sure.
thanks for adjusting. So I have a comment from someone. You nailed it, Charith. I think someone who knows you. Pragit Amarsingh. It's someone who knows. You know him? Okay. You are muted though, but you are saying yes
Yeah,
always.
I know. Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Pragit, for joining us. So do join our future sessions as well. So the lineup is absolutely great, Charit. So next week I'm going to talk, not next week actually, week after, I'm going to talk to Sarath Pereira, who wrote the very first book, uh, using wildlife travel management lessons. So he wrote the very first book in the history talking about management lessons through the wildlife travel. So I'm going to pick his brain on the management perspective. Then after that, I have invited Niroshan Fernando, one of the influencers and an executive coach. On 7th of February, we are going to talk about the productivity hacks. So keep up joining these sessions, Pragit. Share this with everyone. We will definitely, sync up, keep in touch. So with that, let's move on. The next question that I want to ask is, now this is about Sri Lankans. It's about us, right? So let me take that comment off. Okay. Now the question is this. So this is what I have been doing for some time, for few years, going into almost every university in the country, talking to the younger generation, shedding some light based on my own experience. Because if I look back, I came from a very, very challenging background. My village was not having anyone who could speak English. So I made it a priority myself, not knowing where I'm heading. It's very funny, Charith. It's basically what Jack Ma did. I went behind the tourist to speak English, right? So from that time, I have come a long way. I became a lecturer in 2000, struggled for the first 3 years very badly. I almost felt like leaving that job. I never thought speaking is my job. But today I'm a speaker. I'm going to international platforms and speaking up. I'm training a lot of internationals as well. So what I'm bringing this up is just to shed some inspiration to you ahead if you are listening to us, because your mindset, some of the practices that work for us might work for you. Start thinking of them. So I'm going to ask Charith, can you just tell us top 3 advices? If you say advisor slash your insights, I think that's a more friendly way of putting it out. So what are the top 3 recommendations that you can talk about for the people who are watching us? Being a Sri Lankan, I want to focus the message for our community first. Hopefully that might relate to others as well. So what are the top 3 lessons that you have learned?
Uh, no dream is bigger, like if you dream big enough, you know. That's the one thing I want to tell, because people are thinking that okay, we nobody care about us, but the problem is that we always trying to put ourselves down, like okay, no, I'm not gonna make it. This negative mindset never gonna work, right? You have to be positive, then you are halfway there already, because that's what's happened to me. I always challenge myself to uh, do this, always be positive. I never be negative about it. So this is the main thing that I want to tell everybody. Yes, you're not gonna succeed overnight. You're not going to succeed within a day or two, not even 1 year maybe. But you have to keep believing in yourself. That's the most important thing I want to talk about, because people always put themselves down, thinking that I cannot achieve this, I cannot do that, I don't have capacity. Yes, because it's your first chapter, but you're not gonna that's the thing. Like, if you have this right mindset about I'm going to achieve, I'm going to have this positive mindset, we call it law of attraction. You attract what you're dreaming, what you're thinking, because that's the important bit. You need to set your mindset, you need to challenge yourself, you need to be your own challenger and do better than what you did today, so you can achieve the best of best. So always challenge yourself. Don't try to like, see, if you're a designer, like I'll take that as an example. Okay, I'm a designer, but if I'm taking this whole design industry, I might be a very simple, a small person. That's what we always compare. We not compare as a person and person. Every person has their superpowers, right? For instance, if you take a like a chessboard, there has a different different characters in that, right? So the pawns goes one way, the knights goes another way, the queen has more powers, but sometimes she also fails, right? So that's how we are as well, right? We might not have the powers that other people have, but we can be the small pawn that for promotion towards the queen as well. So that's why you need to find your superpower and believe in that and chase after that. So that's the whole thing I can tell about that. So keep believing in yourself, keep pushing towards your goal, and that's the best advice I wanted to give it to you, because that's what I see. Most of people don't consider them, like, consider much, and the other important thing is, don't maybe this is like a very critical thing to say in a platform like this, but never chase after money. Money will find you. Money will eventually find you. When you believe in something and you keep doing what you're doing, eventually money will find you. That's the important thing, because people go after money, money, money. Also, how to make big money, how to make this much money, but that's not should be the deciding factor of what you do. It's called Simon Sinek's golden circle. Explain is better. Why you do what you do? That's the important question to answer. Because if you don't know what you are doing, why you are doing what you're doing, there will be no value. There will be thousands of other people who do the same thing, then you will get into the price war. Yeah, okay, that designer do it for $2,000, I should do it for $1,900. This is the struggle that you're going to have. And end of the day, one guy will do it for $5 and another guy will do it for $4. That's the way. That's where it's heading. Because there's no differentiation, there's no value proposition, there's nothing. So that's why, because the money is a floating factor. You might have billions today, next day you can be even in debt. Things happen like that in life, right? So never depend yourself, your life on a floating factor like money. Money comes and goes. And if you have right mindset, right passion, right skill set, right human soft skills, you can always make money. One way or the other, you can always make money. So never be worried about how much you're going to make, but be worried about who you are, what you want to do, what you want to accomplish with your life. Always have these key areas in your head before you do anything. So that's the important message that I wanted to tell.
Excellent. Yeah. As I mentioned earlier, it's great insights, I'm sure, for anyone who is watching us. So I think you captured, you covered the next question. So I just want to add one one more thing to what you said here. Uh, Particularly being an Asian or a Sri Lankan in particularly, one thing that I would encourage every one of us to do is to figure out our value than being a cheap person in the community, right? Because don't support that brand, don't support that perception we are cheap. Go against it, right? I'm sure you are going to lose a lot of pitches, you're going to lose a lot of offers. That's okay, right? If we don't do that, we will sell our expertise for the cheapest price possible, end up working our throughout our life, just our dreams would be just building a house and buying a car. Most of us will not do both, right? We just do one of them. That's because we are not earning enough. We haven't branded and marketed ourselves the way we should, right? Now, why I'm saying this, I'm in the highest paid industry, IT industry, and we need to go. I mean, we can't just demand for a higher price if you don't have the right competency, right? The first thing is you develop your competency up to a level where you can demand and learn that art. Because when I coach, I also do coach individuals since like last year, simply because I want to help the individuals to brand themselves and know their value, right? And the salary scale for a project manager starts from 100,000 and it goes up to 400,000. Why? It can't be, right? It has to be one common ground. Why do we become so cheap, right? There are multiple parameters that you have to correct. One, individually you need to be aware. So that's what we are talking about. As a community, we need to uplift our profession, our competency, particularly the companies, particularly the people, the folks who are working in the HR space, right? You need to give the right value to our people, right? Don't bargain for the cheapest price. I mean, figure out the right value, and there's no question about that afterwards, right?
Yeah.
So don't try to put the salary down by 100,000. It does not help as a community.
Yeah.
So as individuals, we need to uplift our understanding, awareness, ensure that it's okay to lose one opportunity than just going cheaper. Is a critical thing that I strongly suggest you start adapting yourself, right? So with that, Charith, let's talk about the last question. In the last question, what I want to talk about is I want you to think through your life, think through your career, bring out just one productivity hack that really works for you. Once you share that, I'm going to share one thing from my end. So 2 productivity hacks that we believe, the top productivity hacks that have worked for us, that probably will work for you. So Charith, go ahead. So what is your top productivity hack for those who are listening and watching us?
Yeah, the most important thing is that in life you have to sacrifice something in order to do something, right? Because you cannot have everything, right? So in this way, whenever you have something, think about what's the most important thing and prioritize it. That's the thing, because you will miss out a lot of things, but find out what matters the most at this stage and just focus on that and do it. Because let's say you have a car, you have a motorcycle, you have a public transportation like a train, but you want to go to a destination, right? You have to pick one. If you want to go comfortably, pick the car. If you want to go faster, maybe pick the bicycle, right? If you want to go cheaper, go to the train. So that's how it is. You have to sacrifice one experience in order to accomplish your goal. So think what's most important factor for you: comfort, or the fast, or the cheapest. So that's how life is. You cannot have it all. You cannot play it safe. You have to take risks. You have to see what matters the most at this moment and do it. That's the important thing that happened to my life, because when I leave Sri Lanka, I was so upset about it, because my mom is here, my so many personal connections, but I know one way how I can get more value is changing the market and do a job in another country. That's how I came to conclusion. So I prioritize that. I sacrifice a lot of things to be with my mom, to have a culture that I grow up. I have to sacrifice everything in order to accomplish that. So in life as well, even though in your work as well, whenever you design, think about what's the most important thing. Whenever you do something, what's the important thing? Because if it is not have like a millions of value, don't spend too much time, too much efforts. Don't do that. Just use enough time to do that thing as quick as possible. Sometimes things are like that. You might believe that, okay, no, this design needs to go a lot of attention and all that, but end of the day, it doesn't matter to him. Just need some small designs to get it done quick as possible. So that's the end goal. You need to decide that, you need to take action and see what most important and prioritize it. Otherwise, you will end up doing 1,001 works, zero result.
Love it, Charith. So this is my number one productivity hack. You pretty much covered, I think, one of the key important aspects of it. Now, my stance is this: every one of us want to be great. No one would say I want to be a failure, right? No one says that. Every one of us, every human would like to do great. But the question is feeding the right thoughts to your mind, ensuring that those thoughts are helping you as an individual first place, because it's all about investing whatever the time, whatever the energy in you first. If you don't become the person you wish to see in the world, in others, you're not going to do any good, right? So investing oneself, ensuring that you really understand what exactly the person you want to be throughout your lifetime will give you enough clarity to become the person you want to be. Now, here's the trick. Why I wanted to bring this up is simply because we tend to find the shortcuts. Wanting to be the most genuine person, you can't bribe while driving. When the police cops stop you, if you are the one to bribe and escape, you will never become that person. So there is a trick here. Being comfortable with the uncomfortable is absolutely a game changer, right? It's not just to earn money, quick money, to gain quick success, but to live a life that you really will be happy of. Now, it's not the easiest thing, right? When I decided, Charith, I was bribing, right? So for a longer time, it's very normal, right? If you ask someone who is driving, when a police cop stops you, what could you do? They will give you the strategies to escape, not to do the right thing. So I was conscious enough, because I'm somewhat investing myself on the relaxation, meditation aspect, want to do the right thing. I started thinking, what should I do? I decided I'm not going to bribe even if I have to go to courts, right? That conscious decision allowed me to navigate through any given situation, right? I don't have to bribe. But the thing is, it's not the most comfortable thing. So the lesson there is, be comfortable with the uncomfortable. When you see an uncomfortable situation in front of you, don't just bend. Don't just find the shortcuts. That will spoil your dream. That will spoil your life. At the end of the day, we all want to be happy, right? When we die, we don't want to be unhappy. We want to think like what we have lived the life that I'm happy of, irrespective of what we are doing. So in order to do that, think big, act daily, do the right thing, be comfortable with the uncomfortable. I think this is good enough for us to stop. So Charith, the final word. So I'm not going to speak up again recommending anything. So I give you that opportunity. So what is the last few words that you want to tell our audience?
Yeah, never settle. Never settle. Go out, chase after your passion, what you believe in. Never change yourself, because a lot of people will try to change you. A lot of people will try to influence you. That's because what they know. They're always going to tell you according to what they know. They don't know it all. Everybody doesn't know it all. You know better about yourself. So talk to yourself always. Start loving yourself a little bit more than you loved before. So you will start to feel more confident about yourself, the decision that you're going to make. So always start listening to you. Don't listen to all the other people's all the time. Yes, you might get good insight with the other people. It's fine. Just try to think like, have this emotional intelligence, self-awareness is important. Have this emotional intelligence. It's not all about IQ anymore in this, coming years. It's all about emotional intelligence. Be an intelligent person in emotion. It's gonna take you to a place that you never believed that you can achieve one day. It's important. So make sure that you listen to yourself, be true to yourself. Don't try to dramatize anything. Don't try to be like an actor. Have this, this self-awareness. I know who I am. I know what I can do. I know what I cannot do. I know what I can promise you. I know what I can deliver you. Don't try to fake it. Don't never fake it. Just be yourself. Just live your life and everything will be fine. It's just a matter of time.
Excellent. I love the entire talk. Thanks a lot for your time, Charith.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
the time spent here because it's a lot of energy, a lot of time that you consume here. So I know you are really keen in sharing your knowledge with your community. That's why as soon as I sent you the invitation, you were more than happy to join with me. So it's really appreciative. It's not that everyone would do such work. So keep up the great work. I wish you great success in the coming years. So we'll catch up soon. With that, we are going to end up this particular talk. Thanks a lot for watching us. Thanks a lot for listening to us. Do share this video with your colleagues. I'm sure what we discuss here is not about us, it's about you. And it's conveying the strong message that being a Sri Lankan, being an Asian, you got to do good. You got to identify your value. Go to the world and win the world. Don't be a victim of cheap labor. I'm sure you have everything that you need to sell yourself right way, brand yourself right way, and may the force be with you. With that, take care. Thanks a lot, Charith.
Thank you very much for having me, sir.
Cheers. Bye.
Yes, bye.